There are several different chapels and crests inside a Hollow Knight Silksong that let you fight in different ways. I'm going to quickly go through every single location and all the crests that you get from going to these different chapels. Let's get into it. Starting off with the Reaper Chapel, you'll be able to find this inside of Greymoor. I'm starting from just below the Sinner's Road location inside of the halfway home, as I call it. You want to follow the path that I'm going to show you, but as you progress through this area of Greymoor, you'll probably come across this all on your own. And when you come across this chapel and the others on this list, your only goal is to defeat the challenge that is inside of that chapel, whatever that ends up being. Once you do that, you'll be able to take a crest by interacting with an item inside of that chapel. Now, of course, for obvious reasons, I don't want to spoil what's actually inside of those chapels, so I won't be going inside of any of the chapels, including the first one, this Reaper Chapel. I'm going to stay on the outside to give you the idea where the location is, so you can go back to it if you haven't unlocked it already, or you could go straight to it if that's the kind of crest that you like using inside of the game if you have used it previously. For those of you that haven't used it previously, it's a lot heavier slashes, as you see, compared to the starting crest that you have. Your bind skill allows you to produce silk that builds up over time as you hit enemies, so every time you hit an enemy, depending on the enemy, you'll be able to get more silk spheres, making it a lot easier to build up your silk when you're using this particular crest. The next location in crest that we're going to be focusing on is going to be the Chapel of the Beast with the Beast Crest. You'll need to make your way into Hunter's March, and again, follow the pathing that I'm showing you. If you're early on inside of the game, this is obviously going to be a little bit of a difficult area with all the different jumping puzzles that come along with it. When you get skills later on in the game, this becomes a lot easier, but for now, in the beginning of the game, it's not that fun. But nonetheless, once you go here and you follow the path that I'm going to show you, you're obviously going to come across a couple cages in the entrance into the Beast Chapel. Here's what the crest is going to look like when you do actually unlock it from the Beast Chapel, and you'll see that when you use your bind skill, you'll be able to attack and take life from your enemies, which is very helpful. Next location is going to be in Bone Bottom, a place you probably weren't expecting if you haven't found this place yet. It is going to be the Chapel of the Wanderer. There's a couple different ways you can actually get to this location. You're welcome to follow the path that I'm about to show you, which is dropping down from the giant chute that is above Bone Bottom and the Moss Grotto onto this small ledge that you're able to pick up a few items, but then float over to an entrance that allows you to jump up once you have the wall clinging ability into another crevice that gets you into the large open room that gets you in front of the chapel. Or you could go the much less direct route, which is going to be going through the Wormways. Now, the Wormways may be the first time you actually go and interact with this location. It's going to be found by going to the bottom of the Wormways and falling down into this giant open room. Of course, there are other ways as well, but this is one of the two easier ways that I have found for early on in the game. Once you get to this open room, it's very obvious where this chapel is going to be and where you can enter into the chapel to get the Crest of the Wanderer. You'll notice a big difference in your swings with this crest equipped. It's going to be a lot shorter, but you will strike a lot faster. That's going to be your biggest difference between this crest and all the other ones. Now, getting to the Chapel of the Architect and opening the Chapel of the Architect are honestly extremely straightforward. You need to make your way into the Underworks and into this shop. You can only access this shop in the Underworks once you have gotten the ability that allows you to jump from the different rings that are hanging from the ceiling. Now, in this shop, you are able to purchase the Architect's Key. Now, you may not be able to purchase it immediately. You may need to purchase other items from this shop, but over time, you'll be able to eventually purchase this Architect's Key. Once you have that, I want you to follow the very simple path that I'm showing you now from the shop itself, because just above the shop, you'll be able to find this door with a couple lights around it. That is going to be the Architect's Chapel. Now, once again, once you get inside, just deal with the challenge that shows up in front of you when you get inside this chapel, and eventually you'll be able to get the Architect's Crest. I personally think this is one of the stronger crests that you get inside of the game, simply because of the attacks that you get from it. It kind of looks like a screw, as this description mentions, and you're also able to repair any of your tools using your silk, using the combination that you see on the screen. It's a very cool crest and it's very useful, especially if you like to use tools a lot. This next section is going to take you a little while because this section is focused on getting you the Crest of the Witch and getting you into the Chapel of the Witch. Now, there's two things that we have to do before going interacting with a particular NPC. You first need to get the Twisted Bud, which is hidden inside of the Bile Waters. Follow the path that I'm showing you here because I'm not going to spoil the entire path, but I'm giving you the entrance to where you have to go to actually get to the Twisted Bud. You are eventually going to drop into the Bile Waters and have to do a jumping puzzle. Once you've made your way into this final section and you find this small crib, you'll be able to pick up the Twisted Bud, which is going to be this annoying little thing that sits in your inventory until you use it, which is going to be with a particular NPC in Shellwood in the location that I'm showing you now on the map. Now, what you may encounter is that you have to do a different wish ahead of time for this NPC, which is going to be getting different polyps. It's a very straightforward video that I have made, but if you have completed that and you have the Twisted Bud, you'll be able to do the Rite of Rebirth, which is the wish that you have to complete, which will then teleport you into the Chapel of the Witch. Now, I'm not going to spoil a small cutscene that happens very shortly after you start this wish, but I will tell you that things move very quickly. Like I mentioned a little bit ago, you'll be teleported into the Chapel of the Witch, and you'll notice that your health bar and your silk bar are covered in vines. Technically, right now, you are inside the Chapel of the Witch, but you have to cure yourself to actually get the full effect of what you just uncovered in the Chapel of the Witch. To do that, we have to make our way back to Greymoor, and you're going to have to go to Yarnaby, which is a small individual in the top left side of Greymoor that you see indicated on the map with the small symbol. If you haven't gotten to this location before, you can follow the path that I'm about to show you inside this video to make it much easier for you. Once you arrive at this bell house, you want to interact with the bell house. Yarnaby is actually going to be inside and yell at you. Just go through the dialogue until you are welcomed inside. Once you are inside, you'll have a conversation with Yarnaby that is going to lead to another wish where you have to go and get particular items to help with the surgery to help cure yourself. The location that we're going to have to go next is inside of Sinner's Road. Once you're inside of Sinner's Road, you need to make your way over top the main room inside of the largest room inside of Sinner's Road over to a particular house that's going to have 2 NPCs inside. You have to interact with these 2 NPCs and they're going to tell you that they have the items that you're looking for, though they are not going to just give them to you. You have to purchase them from them. Now, the amount to actually purchase these items is really not all that bad. It's going to be 280 rosaries. I just do recommend that you show up with enough rosaries to actually purchase it outright so you don't have to go back and do the whole jumping puzzle all over again. Once you have purchased these items in Sinner's Road, make your way back to Yarnaby and you'll be able to start the surgery that is actually going to end up leading to you unlocking the Witch Crest. You will once again have to go through a short cutscene, but you will see this particular cutscene, which really isn't much of a spoiler, that kind of signifies that you have transformed whatever was inside of you into the Witch Crest. You'll be able to do a couple interesting, more fast-moving attacks, and the way that you are able to heal yourself, you actually shoot twisted fruits from your body and take the health of enemies around you. Now, the final crest inside the game can only be found when you go into Act 3. To get to Act 3, you have to complete a fair amount of different wishes inside of Bellheart, Bone Bottom, and Songclave, where you're able to interact with this caretaker. You'll know that you're able to move forward into Act 3 when you are able to talk to this caretaker and he starts talking to you about creating a trap to trap the main boss inside of this game. Talking to the caretaker will have you go through all the different steps that you have to create this trap, which is just an entire wish and side quest in and of itself. And once you have completed this particular side quest, this wish, you'll be able to go and fight the final boss once again. You will have to defeat the final boss and go through that cutscene, which will then kick you out to the main menu. You'll know that you've activated Act 3 correctly when the profile that you're playing your game on that you're trying to go into Act 3 looks like this. You simply just need to interact with this profile enough times and it's going to open up the save file that you just did the Act 3 on. You will also need to progress Act 3 to get the ability that allows you to shoot up to the ceiling, but that's something that you have to go through the main quest on, something I'm not going to spoil here. So for the sake of this video, let's say that you have the ability that lets you shoot yourself up to the next level using your weapon. Basically, it's just a giant rocket ability. Once you do that, you want to make your way back to the Moss Grotto into the ruined chapel that will now be open. You're going to see a couple snail shaman that will probably be a little familiar to you once you actually get to this location. You'll see a tablet in the far right side of this chapel. Use the ability that I have been describing to get into this little hidden section inside of this chapel. Once you're in these little alcoves, it is extremely straightforward. Just follow the pathing as forward as you possibly can, breaking down a couple different walls, and eventually you'll come across something that allows you to unlock the Shaman Crest. And the Shaman Crest is definitely another unique one because it focuses on strengthening any of the silk skills that you're able to equip. You're able to equip 3 different silk skills at once inside of this crest, which is very nice when you're just trying to use a ton of skills. Your attacks are also going to be very different when compared to all the other crests. What you want to see and probably play around with a little bit, if I'm honest, is that instead of just using your weapon as a regular slash, your attacks basically emit waves instead of just actually slashing like a sword. I say play around with it a little bit because it does get some taking used to as compared to some of the other crests in this game. So as you can see, you have a couple different options that range the entire game and into the secret Act 3 that allows you to play this game exactly how you want to, with again different unique ways on how you can attack and heal yourself. I hope you guys found this walkthrough guide helpful for all the different crests in Hollow Knight Silksong. If you did, make sure to hit the like, subscribe buttons for me down below so I know that you did find this video helpful, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.